Get it down.
We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead by an A. Insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead it by an A, big, fat love, find common ground. To halt the spread of lies, and we must do it big, fat love, find common ground. To halt the spread of lies, and A. America first, America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead by an A. Insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of
my goodness. Y'all should know that artist if you don't. That's Pogo. I don't know why I did that. I try new stuff all the time, and I felt like today would be a good day to have a little intro. Most people know that church is usually jam-packed. I get a lot of folks coming in. I could have gotten some folks to come in today, I'm sure. There's people that love to do what we do. There's people today that probably want to be here that aren't here, and I don't mean any disrespect to them. I just thought that today I would keep it down to myself and the Britisher. Of course, the day I decided that, the Britisher's running a little late. So until he gets here, what I'm going to do, there's just a few people here right now that may go up, may go down. Maybe everybody will leave. But until either everyone leaves or the Britisher shows up, I'm going to take questions and answers. You know, questions from you all, and I will give the answers. I may have some questions for you all too, though, so we'll see how that works. While I do that, seems like if I don't drink booze, I smoke cigarettes. So while I'm waiting for y'all to ask me something, I will fill the dead air to smoke a Marlboro. I don't in any way condone smoking. I would say if you had to choose a bad habit, I don't know, choose heroin or something, but don't choose smoking, because apparently it is the most difficult one to quit. Cutter, Qatar. Listen, Scott, Mr. Forbes, I have an opinion on it. Here's my opinion. I agree with the immortal Thomas Jefferson. I personally agree with Benjamin Franklin. Diplomacy ends at the water's edge. We give away billions of dollars in support and aid to countries that don't give a crap about us. Beyond not giving a crap about us, they want to kill us. They want to drive my beloved people into the sea. So, Qatar, what should I care about it? I want them to make it. Don't get me wrong. Just like I want my neighbor to make it through the hard Michigan winter. But I'm going to tell you a little hard fact of reality, Scott. If that neighbor comes knocking on my door more than once or twice to get a can of tomatoes, some homemade vegetable soup, some squash, some potatoes, whatever it is that I have put up, those are probably my main staples. I'm going to turn them away. 3 strikes and you're out. And that would only be for the 2 neighbors that I have that can walk to my house. Anyone else, the door would be shut. We should shut the door on Qatar. Not that we don't root for them or want them to succeed, but why? My question for everyone listening would be this: what does the United States care about Qatar? I believe if we got out of there and out of everywhere, people would like us a lot more. How do I know that? Well, I've helped people in my life. I've helped people in this short time on YouTube that I've been on here, 4 months, 5 months. And I've found that it's across the board. People mistake kindness for weakness, folks. So look, I'm waiting for another question. I'd like to hear one from Captain Coalpile. He says he's going to be on the dozer again tonight. Won't be in the chat much. Well, Captain Coalpile, if it wasn't for brave men like you, because all the credit goes to the, whoever, the soldiers, God bless them, the cops, God bless them, but how about the truck driver? How about the Bering Sea fisherman? How about the coal miner down there in a deep, dark hole to bring you light, laughter, and love into your world? How about them? I take my hat off that I don't have on right now to all of those people. And, of course, to the soldiers and to the police officers also. So here we go. We got one from RPR. Who influenced me to learn to play? Well, I started vocally, in music when I was very young. I was always the kid singing really loud and off-key at the Christmas pageant. But I'm going to get right down to it. My major influences on music are the 3 Kings: Freddie King, B.B. King, and Albert King. I mean, give me my cross-cut saw. You know, give me that blues music. I came up in Louisville, Kentucky, and then when I was very young, came to Michigan with my mother as she remarried. Spent my summers in Louisville, and I found something so unique between these two places. It seems so vastly different. They both love bluegrass and blues. So, of course, I've got to say Ricky Skaggs. You know, I could go into a lot of bluegrass artists that you may or may not know. You probably don't. But what got me into music was wanting to express myself. I can't really pinpoint it. I did as best I can with the Three Kings. But I can't really pinpoint, you know, one person. My desire to express my feelings is why I got into music. RPR, you know it very well. We're working on a song right now to express our feelings for a great pair of YouTubers. And what better way? You can buy a box of chocolates. You can buy some flowers. But the only thing I think that even remotely compares to sitting down and composing music for someone would be if you wrote them a nice poem. Oh, thank you. Yes, straight Sith male. I don't know if you're straight or not because you said gay. I'm gonna keep my rude comments to myself. And the reason why is the British will be coming on pretty soon. And here's the fact of the matter is, I love my channel. And on the videos that I do what I want to do. I say what I want to say. When I do this, the live stream thing, more and more I hope that you've noticed, I do what I think needs to be done and what I think needs to be said and what I think will represent the Britisher, Amanda Wolfchild, and I have to say it, especially Day is Dead. Why does Day work with me as much as the Britisher? No. Do I talk to her as much? No. But in the past, I haven't always been as nice as I should be to this young lady, and she stuck with me through thick and thin. She's got a wonderful sense of humor, and I tell you, probably more than anyone else right now in my life, cyber life I'm talking about, outside of the Britisher, boy, she does pick me up and set my feet to dancing. And, oh yeah, and I'm a hippie. I think you have to have long hair to be a hippie there. Straight Sith male. And do you have a real question, sir? If not, you know, keep shit posting. It's more than welcome here. And also, I see that I don't have a lot of wrenches in here right now. But we won't be, in fact, watch this, straight Sith male. I'll give you a wrench, dude. Oh, why? Because I don't give a fuck. In fact, I know a joke, man. There's this old hillbilly, and he sold this guy a mule, and he said, "Hey, man, is that mule blind?" And the hillbilly said, "Nope, he just don't give a fuck." Hey, if you want to get that joke, go watch a documentary, even now if you want, it's cool, called "The Last Damn Run of Liquor I'm Ever Gonna Make," by the immortal, ineffable, and one-of-a-kind Popcorn Sutton. And yeah, in my heart of hearts, I guess I wish this was Popcorn Sutton right now. To prove that it ain't, I'm going to guzzle some, because Lord knows you can't do this with moonshine, folk. But I am finding out that it's better this way for me. And no, straight Sith male, it's not a mistake. Do what you want to do with it. I believe in community. And if the community likes what you say and what you do, hell, you're fine. And you know what the truth, Sith male? If they don't like what you do and what you say, fine with that too, right, man? I mean, hell, we're all in this strange thing called life together. There's nothing we can do to change it. And I did quit drinking Very Berry Blue. It's agua, amigo. I can't quit drinking water. Well, I can, but if I do, I only got 3 days. So come on, man. Give me some questions. Very Berry Blue, anything you want. I had a good question about Qatar, however you want to pronounce it. Answer any question that I can. What's the weather here? I don't care what it is. I was out weeding today. You can see, I've been telling people, you can tell by parts of my body that aren't tanned. Oh, you couldn't hear that. You can tell by parts of my body that aren't tanned that I'm Jewish, and I tell you what, I get so dark that you would mistake me for a Mexican. Not a Mexicant, a Mexican. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. That's very funny, Straight, but I can't really answer that. I don't even know if that's a question. I think you're just trying to be a dick. And that's, like I said, it's welcome. So I'll keep checking on it, but I won't mention you too much more unless you have something serious to ask because reasons. Do we know what the fuck is going on in Iran? Oh my gracious! I've been looking into the Comey thing and watched the whatever you call it that he did last month. Oh, the oversight committee in the Senate. And I tell you, man, that's a sorry sight for a sober man. I'm gonna tell you what, man. It's just I don't even know what to think about this dude. It wasn't too long ago, and everybody hated Comey. The Democrats was howling for his blood, wanted him dead, it seemed like to me, like Seth Rich, God rest his soul. And then now all of a sudden, I guess he's the best thing since motherfucking sliced bread. And Trump is, I don't even know. Here, listen, wouldn't he use executive privilege? I mean, my gracious mercy's sake, he could not stop him from commenting on anything that was criminal. And of course, people are going to say, well, that's why he didn't use executive privilege, because he had stuff to talk about that was criminal. Well, couldn't have stopped him anyway. So time will tell. We got, what, 3 days? I don't know if it's Friday. It's coming up here pretty quick. And we'll find out. Let's see. It's very, very blue. When I asked that, I don't mean specifically today. I thought you quit. Oh, I quit drinking. It's been, shut up, look, this is my 16th day not drinking booze, of alcohol. And I'm not even gonna lie, inside of my heart that, and I'll get to the Ibanez question in a second, Scott. Inside of my heart, there is a part of the ogre that misses the boozy. But it's the part of me that, honestly, my frontal lobes, the super ego of me hates. It's that part of me that will squat and take a dump on the floor if everybody will laugh at it. So it's time, I think, I put that behind me for at least this moment. So we'll see if I get through the evening, if I get through the day. But for right now, nah. So are any of your guitars Ibanez, or is that beneath you? Are you kidding me? That's an Ibanez BTB right there, bass. I have an Ibanez Iceman. I have an Ibanez 335 knockoff right there. That's an Ibanez. In fact, I couldn't honestly tell you how many guitars I own right now, but of the guitars that I do own, at least 65% of them are Ibanez. It's my favorite kind of guitar, my favorite make of guitar. I just ordered a Rickenbacker bass, 4000 model, 4002. I have to look. It's the new Rickenbacker. Sure, it's going to be wonderful, made in the USA. I'm looking at a Martin acoustical now, just a standard bass model Martin. I think it's $800, $900. Expensive for a guitar, if you ask me, because, I collect guitars, and I like to get them as reasonable as I can. That way I can buy more. So there's your answer. No, I got a bunch of Ibanez guitars. I actually love Ibanez. They're very underrated. And he says there's been some... and so Very, Very Blue is asking, there's been some shooting in Iran. I think ISIS claimed it was them, as they usually do. Well, they used to say Hezbollah, and the PLO used to claim. So it does take away a little bit of their credibility. And I'll answer more questions, but to tell you the truth, I've been so focused on this Comey thing right now, that I don't really know if I can speak to that intelligently at this moment. So let me look here. Just no, nope, I didn't. I think I just answered that question. Yep, ISIS has claimed the Tehran, so Tehran, trucks, Peterbilt. Oh, trucks Peterbilt, Mack, or Volvo. Well, I drove truck for a while. So I'm going to just answer this question very quickly. Kenworth. You didn't put it on the list, but Kenworth would be my number one. But I have to say, of all the trucks that I've driven, if I had to buy another one right now, I'd get a Volvo 770. A Volvo is the smoothest riding, tightest turning, most integral sleeper, beautiful truck, big truck, lorry, on the road. You can't get any better than that. But for, and I said looks in there with the Volvo, but honestly, if you want to go for looks, and a very close second on the ride, the comfortable ride, would be a Kenworth. And Kenworth's motto is best in the world. But I'd say Volvo, Kenworth, and then absolutely Peter Carr will be a close third. And if, for those that don't know, PACCAR makes Peterbilt and Kenworth. They're the same company. They come off the same assembly line, and they have the same chassis, but they put different air ride systems in them. So it's okay. Okay, not trolling. Do you like... Oh, do I like Bearing's music? Absolutely. Sith, he's one of my... I love his stuff. I go to Patrick's channel, and he is a great musician. I would consider him definitely on my top 20 list right now. And as far as the folksy feeling that he's got going on, man, he's second to none. I would almost call it folk music. Man, he is great. Love Bearing. I do like his videos also. I watch them occasionally, but I'm more of a Poisoning the Well guy. I watch their stuff pretty often. They can't make their videos fast enough for me. Really enjoy the Britisher, even though he's my mate and we talk every day. I don't miss one of his videos. I dig them. But when it comes down to people on the internet, including myself for sure, because I'm not even on my top 100 list, Bearing, man, he's right up there. He can play the guitar, and for having that thick accent that he's got, he sure can sing well. I think he's got a beautiful voice. Ooh, Formula One or IndyCar? Man, I'm going to get some hate mail on this one, Scott. Formula One all the way. And I see that RP already said, Nil said already Formula One, and I got to agree. And, don't get me wrong, Indy's good. It's better to me than NASCAR. I like open wheel racers. But man, them Formula One dudes, man. And who knows, like in the Pocono Raceway for NASCAR, a lot of those guys have Formula One racers come and race their cars because they don't just turn left on that track. They actually have to turn left and right. So there you go. Formula One it is for me. I do watch Formula One. I don't know why, because I have a fundamental problem with NASCAR. I don't like how much they put in the gas, how much they put in the tires. It's borderline ridiculous to me, the money spent. I've been known to jokingly say, if we would just line up all the NASCAR drivers, all the football players, all the baseball players, line them up in a line, and then start shooting them through the head, and they'd fall off, and then they, so we could save bullets, you see, and then they would fall down dead, and then when they were all gone, we could spend that money some other way. But of course, that's a joke. I don't want anybody to die, and let's face it, that's not a good joke for many reasons. One of the main reasons is it's not the people's problems that actually drive the cars and hit the baseballs and catch the footballs and whatnot. It's the people that are willing to see them paid an exorbitant amount of money. More money than I can fathom. They talk about CEOs being overpaid, but dag nabbit. Oh my goodness, I just got asked who's the most famous person I ever told to fuck off. No one's going to believe me, but I'll tell you the truth. In 1993, I was in the Altamont Springs Mall, and I couldn't believe it, but this very tall blonde girl was walking my way, and I was sitting outside of a place called the Wunderbar. I was having a couple of German beers at the time. Very tall, beautiful blonde woman's walking my way. And sure enough, it was Uma Thurman. And there was some bodyguards, but they were off behind her a little bit. And when I stood up and I went over, I was like, Uma Thurman, oh my goodness. And I might have got the date wrong. I don't think I did, though. I think it was 93, 94. It was right after Pulp Fiction. And I said, man, Uma Thurman, to me, you were named right. You're a goddess. I'm totally in love with you. And boy, she was a bitch. And I already had about 4 or 5 in the ogre, and I looked right at her and said, "Go fuck yourself." And I mean, she treated me like a peon. And people mock me now, and you probably would have mocked me back then, but geez, oh Pete, I am 6'1". I was very young, had long blonde hair. I mean, I'm not going to go into that. Sounds like bragging. But there was no reason for this woman to act the way she did to me. I've told a few other semi-famous people to fuck off, but she was by far the most famous. Playing blues music and running into some of the people that I did when I played the blues, I met some famous people. The best ones were just like you and I. They never... Oh my goodness, RPRC told Townsend to fuck off, man. Wow, that would be so cool. And I don't know how to feel about him, the kiddie porn and whatnot. Peter was something else on the guitar, and I do love The Who, but isn't he a dick, RPR? Isn't Townsend a dick, too? I don't think he's just a normal person. That's what I was about ready to say. Most famous people, they don't want you to treat them famous. And maybe that was my problem with Uma Thurman. Maybe it was because I went up and told her she was a goddess. If I was my age now, I would have just went up and said, "Mrs. Thurman, I can't believe to see you in the Altamont Springs Mall. How are you doing? And I don't want to take up any of your time. I just want to tell you that I'm a fan of your work." And I would have left. But, I was young, and so maybe I handled it a little bit on the wrong side. But dagnabbit, she was a jerk to me. And you know what? I still watched her stuff after that. I love the producers. And, it wasn't Pulp Fiction that made me a fan of hers, Uma's. It was a movie called Dangerous Liaisons with John Malkovich. And, oh hell, there's another famous woman, and I can't think of her name. But John Malkovich and Uma Thurman, and boy, she pulls out the girls in that movie, and I gotta say, oh my, she's beautiful. She is beautiful. And yeah, that's right, DDF. Most famous people are absolute dicks. And they're hard to deal with. Well, and I can't say that. I shouldn't say that. When they're the ones that I know, okay, and I don't know a bunch, I could probably put them in both hands. In other words, I might know 10 or so people that folks would consider famous. And by know, I mean that they would recognize me, and maybe 5 of them would know me by name. And of those people, the ones that are jerks are very entitled buttholes. They're unreal. And can we fully blame them? I enjoy this medium because of many reasons. If I'm an absolute dick, and I don't think it would matter to this, I hate to say community, but this YouTube throng, I don't think it would matter to this YouTube throng if I had 6 million subscribers and was getting millions of views a day, or if I had 1 subscriber and got 1 view a week. If you're a total dick, they do seem to call you out. Now, some folk, I don't know, there's people that thrive on being jerks in this medium, and it's what they base themselves on. But I have noticed that a lot of those people, they stall out at a certain number, and they don't get much more than that. And I think the reason why is because controversy's good, and I'll go back to Poisoning the Well. Love their stuff, man. They're one of the only groups that I watch. I'd say groups because there's 2 of them. They're one of the only acts that I watch whose staple seems to be, doing response videos is what they're known as, but I consider them takedown videos. And man, I just watched them tear apart a couple of preachers, and they're good at it. And I don't see the unnecessary, and Glenn Close, yes, thank you so much, it was Glenn Close. I don't see the unnecessary part of that. We do need to have folk that will call out BS when stuff is BS. Oh. And yeah, you smoked out with Rita Marley? Listen, when I was only 17 years old, I met the Wailers at Splash Beach Club in Orlando, Florida. I was working as a barback, and Ziggy Marley was on the bus. I was supposed to take him out a case of water. Now, these people would never remember me, believe me. I only met him the one time. And I put a case of Guinness and a case of Red Stripe underneath the case of water, and I hustled it out across this hot tarmac of the parking lot of this giant club on Orange Blossom Trail and Lee Road in Orlando, Florida. It's gone now. It's still there. It was the last time I was there, but it's defunct, And man, I got to the bus and they opened the door. Oh man, they could see the red stripe on it. And oh man, you're supposed to bring the water, man. We're not paying for the beer. And I was like, no. I just sprung you the beer. Don't worry about it. It's on the house, on me. Let's not say much about it. And next thing I knew, I was in the Wailers tour bus with three of the biggest, tallest, most beautiful black women I've ever seen in my life with the regalia on. They had like the thing. Oh my gracious mercy. And then, you know, they fired up a spleef. And I mean, I didn't want to smoke it, but you kind of have to in that situation. So, oh my gracious, I might have got off topic there. And I don't see a lot of questions right now anyway. But the Wailers, because at that same night, Shabba Ranks, if anybody remembers him, Shabba Ranks was there. I'll never forget that dick. We were having a Jamaican Me Crazy festival this weekend. And he come in, Shabba Rank no eat the fish, man. Shabba only, oh no, not fish, sorry. Shabba Rank no eat the red meat, man. Shabba only eat the fish. And he's constantly referring him to himself as, what a dick. I didn't say anything to him. I actually avoided that dude like the plague. After the show, though, I got a chance to shake Ziggy's hand and say a few words to him. He remembered me at that particular moment for bringing all the booze there on his tour bus. But I'm sure now that good old Ziggy wouldn't know who the hell I was. So let's see. He used to chuckle. I'm just looking through here, folks. Any more? Met Ziggy. Oh, you met Ziggy Marley too in 1992. That was right around this era too. Straight Sith Male. It was right about the same time. They were really hitting it. The Wailers were really still out there, and you know, Ziggy was fronting them for a while. I tell you what, Ziggy. I love Bob. Now, don't get me wrong. And Bob had probably a better voice. He was a very good singer, but man, Ziggy's a performer, man. Dude, man, got crazy. Maybe it's a red stripe and whatnot I took him, but he got a little nuts. I hate dead air, folks, but bear with me. I'm going to do a little oil toke here, and I guzzled all that water. I'm going to have to put on some music and get up and go do the call of nature thing. Every time I even hear Telluride or see the name Telluride, I think of the song Smuggler's Blues, where it says, they hide it up in Telluride, you know, there's nothing you can do. And I've been to Telluride a couple times. The bummer for me is I love to ski. I snowboard, but I ain't that good at it. I can ski like a dog. And I didn't even hit the slopes, and I was there in the wintertime. I got pissed drunk at a private party, and I guess the only good point there in Telluride is I did get laid. But I'll tell you what, man, especially that age, the idea of getting laid or the idea of hitting them slopes was, it wasn't even about 50-50, man. I would have had to flip a coin or something. This is not crack. Oh, thank you, Ghost Hunter. And if you're still there, I'll probably shoot you a link if Britisher don't show up in another half hour. He's busy saving the world or something. Any questions, folks? There's 15 of y'all out there. Got to be something you want to ask me. You know, when to start going bald? Why am I so dumb? How come I let myself get so fat? I mean, it got to be something. You know, what kind of car do I drive? Oh, you know, never. Hey, listen, in Very, Very Blue, it's overrated. The few that I know, you know, on a personal basis, I'm glad I met them, just like I'm glad I met you. But just running into them, like I think has already been said, man, oh, Panama City, Florida? Hell yeah, I've been to Panama City, Florida. I was there for one spring break and something like, oh, shit, I can't remember, 1998-ish. Now I'm going to show my ignorance. Do I own a horse? No, Scott, I don't own a horse. I would like to for farming, but I have enough trouble with taking care of my chickens. I don't want to have that responsibility of a horse. They live pretty long, and they need a lot of care, and they're very intelligent, good animals. They need to have that care if you're going to have one. And yeah, Panama City. Now help me on my geography before I just pull a map up. Because, oh man, I've been so many places in Florida. That is in the Panhandle, right? Let me look before I sound so dumb. It's been a long time since I've been now. Beautiful place, though. Tell you what. If I had to live somewhere in Florida, it would be on my top 5 list. I didn't mind Florida. I didn't like the people that were there in the cities. And I lived in Orlando, Daytona Beach. Yeah, and I believe, like I thought, yeah, it's up in the Panhandle. And if I remember right, yeah, I do too. My brother had tickets to go see. Oh, I'm gonna have a brain seizure. I just smoked too much pot, I reckon. The boxer, you know, man. Come on, man. Roy Jones Jr. And we got into a brother spat, and he ended up kicking me out of the car. And thank goodness I had ways and means to get back to Orlando. But whenever instead of going the rest of the way to Pensacola, I went to Panama City and partied hardy for a couple days. Great town. I'd say in Florida, my choices would be, let me give them to you in order. Oh, there's a little town north of Orlando called Ocoee. And I would say Ocoee would be number 1. After that, probably Plant City. There's a small little town down by Lake Okeechobee. It's called Lakeport. That'd probably be number 3. And then you have to go way down because Naples would be number 4. And then Everglades City would be number 5. I do like the country. And I like Florida. I'm just telling you, man. It's just, when you get to Florida, you forget you're in the South. Because these people live south of the Mason-Dixon line so far you can't even see it. But they don't act like that's where they're from. They act very different than, in fact, they act different than Northerners. My friend up here, Big Al, he calls them Floridians. And all due respect to anybody who lives in Florida. And you could say I got a lot of sand in my shoes, but I got a lot more snow now. Yeah, tar on the beaches, man. I've seen red tides. I've seen dead tides. I lived on Daytona Beach with my surfboard trying to find myself one year when I was young. And I never did find myself. I found a lot of good times and parties. Surfed a lot of waves. And I was really close to, I never did meet this person. If I'm telling you, man, I just got stoned. I haven't been smoking much reefer either, folks. When I decided I'd quit drinking, I thought, well, why not try to moderate everything? Why not try to just have my brain about me and just see what it's like to only be me? And I don't mind it so far. I guess I've never thought I was a bad person to be around in my own mind. Some people do. But some people end up killing themselves or hurting themselves so bad with things that they end themselves. And that's why I quit drinking. I guess in a lot of ways I tried to make it out like the main reason was because I wanted to be a better person. But remember these words, in vino veritas. Anybody that looks at you and says, oh, I'm so sorry, mate. I didn't mean it. I was only drunk. You know, and I did mention a couple things that I've done. I've been drunk and it lowers inhibitions, but I won't give that as like the number 1 reason, because in vino veritas, wine brings forth the truth. This is one of the things I stick to. If I got a friend of mine and I wonder what's happening, or an acquaintance or a business partner or a business deal going down, I like to let the liquor flow. And I'll tell the bartender, hey man, put iced tea in my rocks glass and keep on the Chavez Regal. You know, keep the Glenmorangie coming. I didn't even know what the hell that was till the Britishers sent me a bottle, but now I would order that. And keep my iced tea coming. Because when you get people a little lubed up, they tend to tell you the truth. So I didn't quit the booze to be a better person. That wasn't my main motivation, part of it. I quit booze because I like to live. I like to be. I don't want to quit being. I would like to experience more things. I'd like to see more things, do more things, love more people. Hell, hate more people. Because isn't that the idea, this stream of consciousness we have? You think back, and this is the argument for, you know, what our minds are. Because you can only think back and recall to a certain point in your life. Some people can go back pretty far. I remember being 3 years old vividly. Don't remember everything about it, but I remember some instances vividly. Some people can remember back even further than that. But I think that the reason we can't remember, because the mind was developing. And sometimes the mind devolves. You know, you get Alzheimer's. If you don't, some people don't get Alzheimer's, they get dementia. In science, they put them on functional MRIs, functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. It's a little different than MRI. It's very good for studying the brain. And they look at the brains of these people whose minds are starting to fail them. And they really can't pinpoint what the heck it is in some cases. My hypothesis is that it's just like it was when you were developing in the beginning. Your mind begins to devolve. I shouldn't say it's just like, it's the transverse, the reverse of it. It's the opposite of it. It's the antithesis of becoming. It's going out. And I want to prolong that thing as long as possible. And I do know that alcohol can contribute to heart problems, contribute to liver problems. I was just looking at Earl Flynn. He died very young, 51, I want to say, if I remember correctly, maybe 52, of heart attack, sudden heart attack. And when they did the autopsy, they found out that he was also ate up with cirrhosis. So these things that we do, we choose to do, can actually take away time that we have to be in the moment. One of the greatest things I ever saw a famous person say was Bill Murray. It was so profound, I can't remember the interviewer. And Beard Barry and his questions and answers, brother, good to see you out there. If you got any questions for the Ogre or anybody else, just reminding if I missed any, I'll go back and look after I'm done with this little rant. So there you have Bill Murray, and he's being interviewed, and I think it was, oh, it doesn't matter. I think it was Dave Letterman, actually. So he said, if you have learned anything in the time you've been a comedian, a human being, you're getting a little older now, what would it be, and what would you like to accomplish in your life, Mr. Murray? Bill Murray looked at him and said, to be in the moment. To be right here, right now. And to not be thinking about anything a minute or a second ahead of me, or a second or a minute behind. To be right here in the moment, to really be here. And oh man, I tell you what, you know, Bill Murray was going to college to be a lawyer when he got busted with the marijuana. Of course, that took anything, any notions of being passing the bar away and being a lawyer, an attorney away. So he became what he is, and isn't that great? That was so serendipitous. I don't know if we have any questions yet. I'll go ahead and look. If not, I'll keep a rambling. I do love to talk to y'all. Sorry I didn't know much about the Turan thing. And I hope nobody mistook what I was saying. When I say that diplomacy should end at the water's edge, I only mean that as long as Detroit looks like a bombed out wreck. I've seen pictures of side-by-sides with Detroit right next to Baghdad. And if I don't, if my memory serves me correctly, folks, if I'm in the moment right now, seems to me shock and awe. Seems like we blew that sun, and it's great. It's back to the desert paradise that it once was. Detroit looks like Baghdad did the morning after shock and awe. And yet we give aid, we give succor, we give food. A lot of people, well, you hear this number, we give $1 billion to the Middle East. Listen, folks. Nobody goes and has briefcases or truckloads of money and gives them to anybody in this capacity, in this what we're talking about. They give them corn, flour, iron, commodities, goods. Look, I'm not, if you think I'm even making this up or joshing a little bit, check it out. There are cases where we will help with debts, but for the most part, it's commodities. It's things we could send to Chicago, to Detroit, to Miami, to Houston, to places that are ravaged. Houston wasn't the best example. They got money there. Here we go. Beardberry and Ogre, have you taken a moment to appreciate that you have legs? I'm not sure. Yeah, you know, it is nice. Is this something to do with, before I laugh at this, Beardberry, is this like injured soldiers? I'm going to put it in right now. Yeah, I tell you what, having any limb, as a guitar player, I think a lot about my fingers. Because no, I don't want to, and there's nothing came up. You dog. I don't want to lose my legs or my finger, nothing. But man, if I lost a finger over here, especially one of these two, oh man, any of these three and any of them, it would, if I lost my thumb, I'd be done. I mean, you think about playing a guitar, I got to hang on to the back of that thing. This is one of the most important digits that you have when you're playing. See, I'm pressing on the back here. And I couldn't imagine not being able to just pick my guitar up. It would break my heart if I couldn't do that. That said, I guess if I had to choose, I definitely, I'd say take a finger and leave my legs. We do have a lot of injured folks. Ogre, have you ever... No, I haven't. I can't even say. Jeppson's... Oh, Jeppson's Merlot, a.k.a. the worst tasting alcoholic beverage in the world. My eyes ain't what they used to be there, Eric. I love Merlot. No, I haven't tried that. If you want the worst tasting alcoholic beverage in my mind, try the Kraken. Spice... Oh, I can't even say spice... Hang on a second, man. Spice... You know that Captain Morgan? I can't say it. Y'all know what I'm trying to say? Oh. So no, and I probably won't be trying any Merlot anytime soon, even though that doesn't make me want to puke my guts like trying to say spice. Yeah. Think I'd learned my lesson. Oh, Ogre, no, it's nothing deeper. I'm just trying to inspire a movement of gratitude and joy over the simple things. Well, Beardberry and his folk like us that, and I hope I can include everybody in this, but I know the Beardberry a tiny bit because he exposes himself in his life to everybody. And I see him running through the woods with axes and I mean, if you're not close to nature, your soul will shrivel away. You have to be as close to the things that grow as you possibly can be. Oh yeah, I'm trying here. I'm going to pull up this quote if I have to, no matter what I have to do. There's a quote from a Lakota Indian that was not far from here, and unfortunately I can't talk and type at the same time. That's why it is sometimes nice to have folk here. Just bear with a little bit of silence. A man away from... Alright, let me see if I can find this real quick. So this is from, hopefully it gives him credit, Luther Standing Bear, and I'm sure I can screen share this. If I can't, I hope nobody hates me for it, man. I mean, this is the gentleman, though. What a very stately looking, heroic looking gentleman he is. It says, a man's heart away from nature becomes hard. Lack of respect for growing, living things soon leads to a lack of respect for humans too. And I can't say, I guess that would be probably the basis of my philosophy of living. That if you don't get close to things that live and breathe and grow, your heart will grow hard towards man. It'll become a stone. That stone may still pump a little bit of blood through your body, and I'm sure you can live. But there's a book that I read that says a foul spirit withers the bones. And I don't want my bones withered. I'd rather have a fun spirit, a loving spirit. If I can, and if I can't, well, if I've had my fun, it's time for me to walk away. So Beardberry says, my mates and I drink All right, I gotta go scroll through that. Beardberry, and he's just dying. He wants me to vomit on stage. His mates drink this certain thing straight. The younger ones drink till they vomit, and we laugh and scream, "The Kraken's attacking! The Kraken's attacking, bitches!" I could say that. That's actually hilarious, Beardberry. Oh, and can you imagine if you got hung over on that stuff, that flowery, spiced... Oh. Goodness save me. All right. Worst tasting alcohol. Thunderbird Blue. Can't hardly disagree with that. The Thunderbird wine, although I will not vomit as I try to say it. Oh, drunken dumb fuck. Ghost hunting. The ghost hunter's here. Isn't exposing oneself to everything illegal? Yes, it is. In some states, it certainly is. It depends upon the circumstances, sir. But no, you said to everything. Yeah, I believe that that's illegal everywhere but in France, apparently. So let's say, oh, and review the Earths in the chat. I don't know, man. If you ain't at work, let me know. Because I got room for a thing or two up in here. I'm not sure if Beardbarian is still killing himself, but I've been waiting here about 48 minutes, and there's no telling. I mean, the Britisher, he saves the world in a different way than MCJK does. And, you know, he's out doing that right now. What I'm going to do is, listen, that song, I went a little nuts today because I got bored. I was out in the sun, and it's not hot out. Those are the most dangerous days here. In fact, okay, no problem, review. I'll probably be in here for about another, I don't know, end up being an hour and a half or so from now. Review the Earth knows, Clint knows. Where I live, the most dangerous days to be in the sun, it's 75, beautiful. But today, it's almost June 21st. We're very close to the summer solstice. And I tell you, man, when them days is even, baby. And then it goes, we get close to 16 and a half, 17 hours of sunlight where I'm at because we're close to the 45th parallel. But these are the dangerous days because you go out there and you don't feel hot. That sun is still beating your ass. There's people that come up here, I won't say from Georgia, but there's people that come up here from Kentucky and Indiana. Oh, yeah, I'm used to the heat. It ain't hot up here. And they're out kayaking all day on the Great Lakes. I'll tell you something else funny that happens on the Great Lakes and kayaks. But they're out kayaking all day on the Great Lakes and get so sunstroked, they're lucky if they make it back. Something else people do up here, folks, don't laugh if you can help it. But they go out thinking they know everything. I'm talking about some straight-up daggone Yankees from Chicago, right? They come up, they go to Alpena, Michigan. They rent a couple sea kayaks. And they go out on Lake Huron and get out of sight of land, freak out, flip over, can't get back in there. And if you got this much of you, folks, if there's this much of you in the water in Lake Huron, you're dead in about an hour. Because the water never gets above 58, 60 degrees, ever. And so you freeze to death. Hypothermia. And, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of funny. So there's a couple kayak stories. Let's see what else is here. Beardberry and Ogre. He said he can't. Nobody's gonna come on in here, huh? Let's see. Blackbird suit. Oh yeah, good. Carbon fiber guitar. Check out that link. Come back to church, man, if you want to. But that link that. Let's see who just put that up in here. That link that Eric just put up goes to a carbon fiber guitar. Pretty cool, man. I'll tell you what. Oh, the song and dance I did was The Sheet. I don't know, review. I just got a little nuts. That's what I was going to do. That was Golly Music. And he's got a little channel. It doesn't say how many, I guess. It used to say how many subscribers he's had. But my goodness, is he underrated, man. I can't believe he doesn't have at least a little CD out. He's got some pretty cool stuff. I guess part of it is because the nature of the songs that he plays, like this one. Oh, Britisher, you snuck up on me.
Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm hanging on there.
Man, I'm so
As you
glad
can tell, I'm running a bit late.
Oh, yeah, you didn't have to show up, man.
I think echoing.
I will fix that. I was alone for a long time.
I cannot hear you. I can...
Dead silence now, man. I've been talking for 52 minutes. And now that just trying to put my headphones on is going to be dead air, man. Hey, just give me 1 second, Britisher. Say hi or something.
Hello there, everyone. I guess we'll have to fill a little dead air while the ogre tries to plug himself in. This is one of the things that, of course, the ogre claims about me, that I am an MI6 robot. But given that we've just been watching the ogre plug himself in, I think we now know the truth.
Oh, thanks. Well, and that it was that quick, but I'm gonna tell you the truth, mate. I am gonna skate because I guzzled a quart of water, and you can imagine what something I'm thinking about right now. I won't mention what it is.
What you're trying to tell me is that gravity is having an effect.
A serious effect on the old kidneys and bladder. Good to see you, mate. You must be busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest the last few days. I can't even get a hold of you one way or the other.
Well, it's staying up until 3:30 in the morning to speak to the gentleman from poisoning the well and things like that. That basically puts a little bit of a crimp in your schedule.
Yeah, that was a long one Monday. You spoke to him after that? Well, I asked it off air or whatever. I would like to see you do some kind of collaboration with them. It was pointed out to me by somebody I won't really mention right now, because we get mails for the show here, but it comes to my mail, and so I don't really share many with you. I shared one with you today because most of them are there. I mean, a lot of good ones, like, hey, this and that, thing. But it is nice to have a contrast. And man, brother, I did not know what to think. It was spur of the moment. I asked him on Friday, and he didn't answer me till Monday. And I knew that you'd be cool about it. You're always cool about whatever. But I was thinking, oh Lord, fucking poisoning the well on with the Britisher. And right away, the guy is so disarming, so fan. In fact, both of them, Fat Pat and Sofan. But Sofan was so disarming, man. I mean, right away, it was so good. I don't even know what to say. If I go on about it, that's all I'll talk about, because that was another one of those instances in my life where I prejudiced something out. I prejudged the situation in my head. Still going into it with a good attitude. Glad that somebody came and backup plan, what have you. And then it exceeded my expectations to the point that I was like, man, I actually watched that, and it's only the second one that I've watched that we've done together.
Oh, it was exceptionally fun to do. There is absolutely no doubt about it.
I should have kept my mouth shut in the beginning a lot more. But I get excited, man, and it's hard for me, I won't lie. But once I settled in and everybody just got going, even though there was a bunch of people, but you're right, it was exceptional.
Yes, I did sort of live up to my full pedantic potential by insisting on how draft is spelt and pronounced. I guess you'll never forgive me for that.
No, I loved it. That was like the biggest controversy of the night. You got to have a little tension or something. The funniest thing that happened to me, bro, yesterday, once in a while, I'm hoeing weeds now, mate. I've got the rototiller going. It's not like, and my mind's drifting. I'm listening to a story. And about 4 or 5 times yesterday, I could just hear him say, "The Britishers here. I didn't think anybody famous was going to be here." With the glasses and the spikes and stuff. I didn't even think that's what I mean, exceeded my expectations, and not because he watches your stuff, even though we're glad he does. But I didn't know he did.
I had never heard of him, and when you sent me a direct message to say that he was going to be on, there was a typo in the name. So, given that I had never heard of the name and there was a typo in the name, when I looked it up, nothing came up.
Oh,
so
I didn't make a typo.
I came into it and I was completely blind. I had no idea who this person was. And he appeared on screen and I thought, good God, it's a rock star. And that was really the level from which kind of we began. But yeah, my problem sort of particularly at the beginning was I had absolutely no idea who this person was. I'd never seen any of his material, but I quickly cottoned on that this was someone with a very, very sort of live sense of humor.
Oh yeah, he was on there, and even Conscious Carrickle put in the comments that I was right. Even Stop Clock's right twice a day, folks, and I was right. I said, man, this guy's gonna end up being a deep thinker, and I really thought we'd talk about Islam, which I don't care to talk about today, if you don't mind, just for a short time, and then move on. But man, the guy. He was in depth in his thoughts. His thought process about the ownership of guns was second to none for somebody from Georgia. He was intelligent. He's got cool dogs. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I was beyond impressed.
I loved it when he kind of brought up this law that if you own property in Georgia, you have to by law own a gun.
You must own a firearm. Doesn't that
Just
seem
thought
crazy
that's
to you?
absolutely fantastic.
Oh my gracious! But when you think about it, how often do you go out into the countryside of England and somebody doesn't have a shotgun there? That is common sense gun ownership. You may not need.
When it's a matter of farmers and things like that, everybody expects them to have shotguns. Yes.
Right. You know, I think about A Clockwork Orange. Look what they did to the cat lady. You know, and if you live out in the middle of nowhere, it's not just human beings, but don't they have coyotes and whatnot over there?
No, we pretty much have no dangerous animals, really. Well, yes, we have foxes, yes, but we have no sort of dangerous animals to humans here in Britain.
How do you feel about that fox hunting, man?
Personally, I have never had a problem with fox hunting whatsoever. It wouldn't be the sort of thing I would want to attend myself, but I see no reason why anyone should stop people from doing it. And what I can see as being the thing that so riles those who are into fox hunting is the fact that it is actually the people who live in the cities who are opposed to fox hunting. Now, of course, there are exceptions here or there, but by and large, when you look at the populations, when you look at the breakdown behind this, you can see that it is mostly the country folk who are in favor of fox hunting, or should we say, in favor of maintaining those traditions.
Well, but also, man, I just want to press you a tiny bit, sir. You're telling me that I don't want to say it was for business, but you're saying that if you knew that you were invited to a gathering and it was a bunch of cool people and you were going to be riding a horse and going after in other words, you were invited on a traditional fox hunt, you wouldn't go?
Well, for one, I can't ride, which I know to you must come as a grim disappointment.
Well, them horses, though, because you wouldn't, so let's put it this way. I have talked you into going. I don't do it, but say I'm one of your mates there and I talk you into going and you're like, okay. I can't ride. But these horses, Britisher, unless you got your own and it's high-spirited, at these fox farms, man, whatever you want to call them, at these hunt clubs, they have fox hunting horses, mate. What you do is you sit on there and you hang on to the pommel with one hand and the reins with the other. And the horse is going to go.
I don't think you've ever quite seen a fox hunt in that case.
Oh, yeah, it's hellacious, man. They're over
fences. They go over everything.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can't ride and they just plonk you on a horse, you are in quite a bit of trouble.
All right. That's fine. I'm a little sad. I won't lie, because I'm thinking, man, I don't even know if that's true. I would like to see, because look, you can rein that horse in, and make him go.
Were I to be able to ride, and you would be somebody who would come along and say, look, why don't you come along? I would go along. Yes. I wouldn't necessarily, have sleepless nights about it. In excitement due to expectation, I would just go, well, let's go see what it's like.
That's what I wanted to hear, really. I mean, I would if somebody offered me to go fox hunting.
But as such, when it comes to fox hunting, I see absolutely no moral objection against fox hunting whatsoever. I think it is entirely driven by people who live in towns who have this kind of idyllic view of animals, and it is always the cute animals they object to seeing killed. And of course, the fox has something going for it in that way. And that seems to be the mainstay of their actual objection.
Well, what about
Whereas the people who actually live in the countryside, who actually are the people who are feeding those in the cities, are now being told by those people in the cities what traditions they may or may not maintain out in the country. And to my view, that is completely wrong. You're still silenced, Mr. Roga.
Oh, sorry, because I was cutting in when I shouldn't have been, and sometimes I do that when I'm muted, but it don't matter because I'm muted. Well, you say that, Britt, but how familiar are you with, I believe it's called ratting? Ratting.
Oh, I've seen it. And that is basically, largely it is sort of kids from quite poor parts of town in some sort of inner city areas who have kind of dogs, mainly terriers. And there was sort of like ratting clubs where people would go they would basically hire some kind of little bus or whatever and go into these inner city areas and pick up these lads who had a dog like that, and they would take them out into the countryside where, say, an area of a farm had been infested by rats or something like that, and they would let their terriers loose, and they would hunt the rats, and they would kill all the rats. And this, of course, has also been stopped when they introduced the ban on fox hunting, because the ban as such was not just specific to fox hunting, it was any sort of hunting with dogs. And of course, all the farmers again objected very much to that, because they all preferred getting rid of the rats on their farms via ratting rather than via putting down poisons, because they don't really want to spread poisons around their farmyard.
You know what? This is bringing back memories because we've talked about this before. But what I'm also talking about is that made its way into the city, and that at pubs they would have a large area, and they would usually, I think, was 100 rats. It might have been 50, but they'd bet on how many the terrier could take out in a set amount of time. So in other words, we're going to toss this rat terrier in this box with all these rats, and we're going to see, how many that he can kill, and whoever comes closest is the winner. They outlawed that, I believe, in 18 something.
Yes, but I mean, that sort of thing has long since ceased over here.
Yeah, but that's like the slope of that, I think. When we start mixing, and I do got to go take care of nature, but when we start mixing the idea of, and don't get me wrong, man, I don't want to see dogs filleted, but they have that dog thing in China where they eat dogs. They have like a dog, and they show you all these pictures of skinned dogs. Listen, they eat dogs, man. To somebody that don't eat steak, like if you take an Indian here and you show them an abattoir where they're like slaughtering cows, I've been to them, they would crap themselves seeing the cows skinned instead of boo, just like we do about the dog. So hey, look, people.
Well, no, I mean, I would have no objection to people eating dogs whatsoever. Again, I don't see the problem.
Is it true that the only reason why we frown upon the eating of horses and cats and dogs is because they live so close to us in the West? Well, because we've grown attached to them as more household animals, or animals that are very close to us.
I'm not really sure that is the source behind it, because, I mean, the farmers have always been the people who have lived most closely to their livestock, if you know what I mean. And they are always the ones that are quite happy to just basically see them dispensed with.
You have a different relationship to your horse and to your cat and to your dog than you do to your livestock to an extent. So I would theorize that's where it comes from.
In places like France and whatever, there are people who specifically rear horses for slaughter. So the horse meat in places like France is not merely a byproduct of horses who have become too old for other purposes. They are in fact in some places reared specifically for slaughter.
But I think it differs from culture to culture in terms of just I don't know, it's hard to explain, because I don't think there's what would you say is the reason why we are so disgusted by the idea of eating, for eating a horse? I think that's the most.
In that regard, you're asking the wrong person, because I myself have eaten horse meat, and I also see absolutely no moral objection to eating a dog. My guess is it more than likely wouldn't taste very good. That's why I would more than likely not be that willing to try it. But if it tastes good, I wouldn't really see a problem with that.
Yeah, but I'm not asking your personal disgust. Why would you, if you could just give me your opinion on why do you think Western societies are inclined to view it with a disgust?
What is this? What's the word I'm looking for? Is it anthropomorphize or whatever? Basically, people.
Yeah, I think that's right. You're asking a guy whose second language is English, but yeah, I think so.
Okay. No, that basically people project human attributes onto certain animals. And I think in more modern times that has become much more the case. I think too many people have seen, cartoons with talking animals.
Yeah, but I think that's a byproduct of us living so closely with some of these animals. For example, I think cats and dogs are the best example. I think that anthropomorphizing is a byproduct of
I think in that case, it may be the fact that we are living with them in close proximity, but for different reasons than we did in the past. So Whereas in the past, we had cats because they would catch mice. And we had dogs because they would be guard dogs, or they would be shepherd dogs. They would fulfill a function. Now we have pets purely for emotional reasons. So therefore, we more than likely have become more emotionally attached to them.
The practice of pets has a lot of very uncomfortable questions and implications attached to it, just in general, if you really think about it. But yeah, it reveals a lot about human nature as well. We yearn for companionship, and when we can't get that from more complex beings as humans, we resort to the next best thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. You take somebody that's a PETA member, you know, people for the ethical treatment of animals or whatever. You take somebody like that and never ate an animal in their life. You put them in a room in a blizzard, you know, that goes on for 2 weeks with a duck and a steak knife. And I'm going to tell you one thing, that duck's going to be gone. It ain't going to take long. So I think it is all a question of perspective, but the anthropomorphizing is bad. It's just bad. It doesn't lead to anything good. When you start thinking that this animal, we talked about this before on this stream, when you start to imagine that an animal knows it's going to one day die, and therefore it has this inner self like you have. Now, folks, we're unique on this earth. That's why we conquered this earth.
I'm actually, I might be remembering this wrong, but we discussed this very topic, maybe not on one of your streams, Ogre, but we discussed the topic of sentience within animals. And I don't think we have to go on that tangent, just want to bring it up.
Oh, also, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I was just I'm trying to price some pumps.
Haven't seen you on a stream in a while. I see you on Twitter constantly, but I haven't been on a stream with you in quite some time.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Just want to say hi. Just getting out.
Hey, man. You should keep us up to date. You seem to be the one with the closest connection to the Eric Clanton
orbit
case.
at the moment.
Yeah, he's somewhere on the moon.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked back at that, but yes, I watched this video of the Eric Clanton deal. You guys know what we're talking about?
Lay it on me.
I'll fill the guys in. It's the bike lock, the Antifa professor, the Marxist professor that attacked a guy with a bike lock. He has multiple felony charges now against him, and he's going to be in court. I think somewhere around somewhere in June. I might be wrong.
They'll plead it down. He'll probably get 5 years for that move. That's a bad move. You can't just whack somebody with a deadly weapon.
Oh, it's brutal.
One of the guys he whacked was on his knees on the ground.
Yeah, it was brutal, man.
Despicable.
I mean, you look at Base Stick Man. He was in a melee. Everybody there, and the person the one famous one where he breaks the stick over the guy's head, he's in the act of fighting.
This guy's coming at him.
No, this dude just blatantly, that hurt. This dude just blatantly attacked folks that are there talking, but there's no melee. There's no fight.
Yeah, no, I want to see this guy locked up, but he could face quite a few years.
I don't think he should be locked up. I think we should take a page out of Singapore's book, and when somebody pulls a fucking move like that, we should strap them in that ass thing where you can just see their ass and get a martial arts in. What? Give them 6 good whacks. They ain't gonna do that shit no more. And then let them go. You go home now.
Yeah.
Your ass meat stays on the cane, but you can go.
I personally think that's too light of a punishment for someone that basically attempted to seriously hurt a person that was not a direct threat to him. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. That's why I brought it up. Review the. You need to keep us up to date if you get any new updates, because you seem to be the guy who's tweeting
no
about
problem. And here's the big breakdown on that. What I watched was this amazingly epic video of the dude's lawyer, all right? Eric Clanton's lawyer comes out to make this statement. And there's a bunch of quote-unquote real news media there, right? And they're just fluffing him, basically. And then all of a sudden, this dude with a cell phone starts getting in there and just barking like crazy. He's just one of us, right? He's in there just going hog wild, dude, and it's like the greatest thing ever because he's actually the real media. Like the real media with all their cameras and all their BS is there, but he's the one asking the real questions. And like the lawyer's like, "Can I have a police officer remove this man out of here?" It's like, why? All he's doing is talking and asking questions. It's like the greatest thing, dude.
The cops did not take him out.
No, like what they do. He was like, just all he was doing was filming them and just barking at them the whole time. It was great. I was like, yes. So I made that little picture on my phone that I pointed to him. I was like, real media, and pointed to the lawyer. I was like, fuck lawyer. And that's what Carrick saw, and he was asking about.
I'm kind of curious because I've seen things in Great Britain where somebody steals a car and police are chasing them, and man, they end up getting like 6 months. The sentences there are strange, but if somebody pulled something like this, Britt, and did that, with a bite, like a heavy, hit somebody with a hammer, what would happen to him there in Great Britain, if you know?
Well, I mean, it always depends first off who he hits. I mean, if he goes near a police officer, he would be in serious trouble. But I would say also if you strike hammer, I mean, the moment it's particularly if it's something seriously dangerous like a hammer, you would be going to prison for quite a while.
Yeah, well, that's what should happen. I guess I hope everybody knows that when I say cane them, I guess
Have we got a lot of dead air or?
Oh no, you were kind of roboting a little bit. Am I done? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I don't know, the connection. My connection has been weird the last couple of days. They've been working on something, so if it might come and go.
The biggest news in South Africa in the past day was the storm that hit last night. The huge storm hit Cape Town, and where I live as well.
That's crazy, but I saw a picture. Maybe it was from you. I saw a really cool. A picture. I'd never seen that with South Africa, and then this massive cloud flying by it.
No, it's past now, but the biggest sufferers in this case will be the people living in informal settlements, the people living in shacks and townships. They are absolutely being wind whipped. But I think that's down to what Ogus said, British. I think it's Ogus' connection that might be the culprit.
It could be me. I'm going to drop out for a minute. I'm going through a bad connection because I'm driving. So I'm going to go back to YouTube and listen. I'll pop back in when I get better.
All right, man. All right. I might have to split too. This is so crazy. I just seen in the chat that Count Dankula's having a live stream. I may put that on my headphones and go out and do some more work here in about 10 or 20 minutes. And because main reason is I'm having trouble. I think they'll be done with this. I called them yesterday and they said they'd be done fiddling around with whatever they're fiddling around with by tomorrow in the evening. So I'll still be, but I don't do nothing tomorrow, so it should be all right. They're upping the whatever it is. It's already fiber, but they're putting in like transformers. I don't know. That's the best way I can say it. I don't know really what the device is, but it boosters, I think is what they call them actually, because they boost the signal. And then that should make what I got now 5 times faster than it was, which was okay already. I would like it to be faster, though. I'd like to be able to upload a 20-minute video in it, a couple, 3 minutes would be nice. Right now, it would take me about 40 minutes.
So just real quick, I'm not be doing my own live stream. I got something cooked up. We were talking about
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo. I need to have that ready to play when it happens. It's like, domo.
Yeah. Okay.
No, and I was going to actually say a little something about that because I'm telling you, I ain't gonna make it much longer. I've got my this is the way it goes for me. I rototill in between the rows. That doesn't take a long time because it's powered. But as soon as I'm done rototilling, I get out the hoe. My hands are getting hard, and I start to hoe the rows in my very large garden. By the time I'm at the last row, hoeing that row, because spring is fierce here. When it's time to grow, stuff knows it don't have long. I have to start at the beginning. I rototill and then weed. And so some people would look at me, probably would look at the garden in the state that it is, where there's just weeds. Every hand's width apart. There's a little something coming up, and go, oh, you're a little crazy on that. Well, if you let it go if you let it go too long, instead of just easily being able to hoe through these rows, going through pretty soft soil with the weeds interspiced, and they start to group up tight, man, you're trying to hack through grass again then, and it's hell. So I basically, about four days of my life is spent, 3 hours or so weeding the garden. And I only did half of it today. I enjoy it, but man, it gets old. The back, bent over. It gives you a really good appreciation for what it must have been like before the dawn of the mechanical age. When folks had to till the garden with hose. I mean, he's Cro-Magnon man with or whoever, I guess not.
Your hands. You did it with your own elbow grease.
Hands, man.
No, man.
A rock on the end of a stick.
Yeah, it was a different time. I mean, fuck, I can even remember people always talking about how, because I live in a farming community, of just hearing about all the wacky ways they had to do just mundane things on a daily basis back in the day, and it always fascinated me. Just all the innovative ways they found to take pretty simple objects and do pretty complex things with them.
Yeah, well, you think about it, it wasn't that long ago. This is what I'm looking at because I mean, most people know I got chickens. I was supposed to take them in and have somebody slaughter a bunch of them. Well, I got a plucker instead because it was I thought it would be easier, but I've already killed some of them. And the idea of taking them off to a unknown person that would then kill them, dispatch them and clean them, it's not only costing me $2 a chicken, but I don't know. I feel like maybe I should be the one to do it. I brought them in. I feel like I should take them back out. But if you think it was only not even 100 years ago, every meal you had, your wife took that animal somewhere, killed it, butchered it up, and brought it to you. The women of the world did that for a long, long time. And so I just feel like I'm carrying on a tradition that way. I can't wait to do it, to be honest. I got too many damn birds right now, man, everywhere coming out. You Britisher, you seen the other day, one was in my house right here in the studio, a little studio right here.
But it's satisfying when you, at the end of the day, when you're standing there with this product that you created in your hand, and you're just like, this is my the product of my labor. This is what I put my effort into. It feels satisfying.
And look, I want to go out this way. This is the last little bit. Brett, I sent you a thing, and I'm not going to bang on this person. I'm reluctant to even say who it is. I'll let Clint Review the Earth do it on his live stream later. But there's a person that I watch a lot on the internet here on YouTube, and this human being covers a lot of news-related things, political stuff, and news-related items. They're very good at what they do. And this morning when they woke up, there's this article about them in their local newspaper, calling them fake news and pointing out what they do for a living and casting a shadow on maybe her, I don't even know. I shouldn't even have said her, but this person's whatever. And this is why I'm bringing you up, man. You cover some sensitive. Is this coming to you one day? And what are we supposed to do when we see somebody? Again, I'm not going to mention any names, but in the past, you and I have been in situations, and in fact, the only one we was in, I drug you into, and that person, whatever, it was what it was. This human being reminds me of an American you. When they get something wrong, which I had to go, I was looking today, I didn't see anything where there was a retraction because the things that they present are not fake news. These are things that we should be looking at and thinking about. And now it's labeled with fake news. Are they going to label you fake news? And if they do, what the hell are you going to do, man?
Well, I mean, if people want to label you, you cross that bridge when you come to it. I think in the case you showed me, I know we're not going into it in any detail, but I think what is concerning there is that one is trying to imply that person isn't fit to fulfill any roles in the real world due to what she may have said online, which in this particular case bears absolutely no relevance to the role she fulfills in the real world. So it's a sort of it's a kind of truly an attempt to kind of sabotage a person quite in a nasty way, as a result of the views she holds, and that is sort of at its heart very anti-democratic. But they no doubt wouldn't realize that. They are too busy condemning somebody for holding views they do not agree with to kind of realize that the steps they're actually taking are actually sort of deeply anti-democratic at heart. That if you're trying to punish somebody for having a view that doesn't agree with yours, you're more than the argument.
Yeah. Well, I got all that, but the very end, I don't know. I hope it's not you, or I hope it is you and not me. But we'll see. This human being is being attacked personally, and that's kind of what I meant without just saying, because you had people, man, I don't want to bring a lot of light to, but it's on your chat, it's on your comments. You've had people call you Islamophobic and this and that, and I mean, I see a lot of stuff over there. What if they didn't? Even if something didn't happen to where, man, I don't even know how I could say this. I hate to put you on the spot, so I'm just going to drop this idea. This is what's bumming me out, and you can glean from this what you will. Is that there are people that I like the Hard Bastard, yourself, Holly Seelger, Review the Earth, Conscious Caracal. I think that's enough names right now. That what they say is, from what I see, whether I like it or not, truth, but could be used against them. Like they're using it against one of those people that I named. And holy shit, man, when do they... I sent this person a tweet that wrote this article. And I spelled Maine wrong. Like you said, I'm known for typos. I type fast and I don't spell that good anyway. And when I'm in a hurry or on Twitter where I've got only 100 and whatever, 44 characters any damn way, I just brap and hit send. I don't even re-look at it. And a lot of times I can see the red line. I can see that spell check says...
That's how Covfefe got invented, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I trumped it out. I did a trump. I pulled a trump. You know, and that's what he pointed out. He didn't point out what I said. He just pointed out that Maine has an E. And I put, okay, bro, with a B. Continue spreading that real news, dude. And the guy is so thick, Britisher, that about 2 hours he liked that tweet. I don't think he connected it with the first tweet that I sent. He actually thought, oh, this guy's calling me bro. All right, I like that. You know what I got to say to you, dude? Write what you want if it's your opinion, Mr. Editor. And you got the right to be this whoever the hell you are. But why don't you do this? Make sure that you tell people this is an opinion, and why don't you not try to use your platform to harm somebody's actual life? I think that would be good. Now, if you think this person's doing something that is detrimental, I don't know, man. British, I don't even know what to say. Because, of course, if somebody's putting out terrible propaganda, someone should step in, but I don't. This is definitely not the case. That's my concern of the day. British, I've been thinking about it all day while I was working. Been thinking about you, mate. Been thinking about the Hard Bastard. You know, I ain't tight with the Hard Bastard at all. I mean, I've worked with him a couple times. That's the extent of it. I ain't talked to him in months. But damn, I wouldn't want to see anything happen because he has opinions. It's breaking my heart as an American, and I see it happening. And they started with Dankula, right? You know? Because, of course, that's offensive. You can't like Nazis, can you? You can't like Nazis. You can like Nazis. I personally don't like Nazis. Maybe the Golden Boy, or whatever the hell his name is, does. I don't know. I didn't look at too many more of his things. I don't think he should be shut up either, because I don't know if I heard him say he liked... I don't really know. I don't follow the dude. I don't give a shit what he says, man. That's my rambling jaunt on that, bro. As long as you're not making a call to action. As long as you're not saying... Someone's not saying, I like... whatever. I'm a Taoist from Indochina, and I love Taoism. And so you should come with me and my cult. We're going to kill everybody that's not a Taoist. Well, then I got a problem with that. But if it's anything short of that, what is the problem? Justin Trudeau's of the world are ruining us. Sticks and stones and break your bones. Names never hurt you. If the Jehovah's Witness knocks on your door, and you see his Jehovah's Witness out the window, you know how they dress. Or Mormons. With some Mormons are crazy. Knocking on your door to get the black shirts with a thing and a little name tag. White shirts with the black tie. You don't open the door. Just don't open the door. They'll go away. They might knock 2 or 3 times. They're persistent bastards, especially the Mormons, man. They don't come to my house anymore. I set the dog out. She's in a fence. It's not like I sick them on her, but I see them coming, man. I got big windows in the front. I just be like, Lily dog, you know. They don't come in the yard. Anyway, there you go. So, and it's great because Poisoning the Well, I feel like I lost y'all. I hope I don't even know if the stream's going. If it's not, sayonara, everybody. I haven't been watching much. Y'all still there?
I'm still here.
All right. Well, and the point is...
No, we can still hear you, but sometimes you slow down and speed up again.
I'm going to just cut my camera off because I got to get this out, man. It's been killing me all day. Poisoning the Well did a great thing, man, and they actually did pin the worst comment up to the top, Britt. I know you remember it in the stream where he was like, we take the comments and like the worst ones, we pin those. Yeah, he does. But they did one about unplug it. You know, they're watching something and Fat Pat's like, oh, man, I'm so offended, you know, and it's so fat, like, blah, 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 and they're going off about it. They're pretty good actors, them boys. And then they just pull the plug, you know, they unplug it. And the point is, you can block motherfuckers, you can pull the plug on your computer if it comes down to that. But, and then, you know, now we got Kathy Griffin talking about, I get these, I want to look at the camera so bad, folks, but I ain't going to ruin the transmission for it. Oh, I get these death threats and they're so real and so specific. I just had people telling me to eat a shotgun and they wanted to find where I lived and killed me. Well, they could say what they want. Just like the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons. I set my dog out and get the shotgun, I reckon. And that's whatever. That's what it comes to sometimes. But very rarely, I only mention that because I didn't like load a gun or anything or start worrying. I don't think it's just talk. And as long as it's just talk, why not just leave it be? In fact, the more poignant the argument, the more it makes sense, even if you disagree with it. This is coming from somebody that disagrees with a lot, and I watch their stuff. On this, I won't name names. But I don't agree with 90% of what they say. But I watch their stuff anyway. Because damn it, if they don't make good arguments. And it wasn't it Mark Twain that said it would be outright blasphemy to pay the devil homage, but one can't help but admire him for his work ethic. So look, say what you want to say. Say it to me. We had somebody, I believe, I'm not sure if he's still in the chat here, but we had somebody, again, that I won't name, in the chat. And, I don't know. You got to do what you got to do. Be who you got to be. Let other people be that too. If you can't do that with words and you get tired of it, well, go away. Or if you get tired of them, block them, stop them, whatever you got to do. Or unplug your computer. I remember Mike Tyson, boys. I know this is getting a little long, but that's just the way it is. I'm about ready to cut out. And this has been killing me. Britisher, if you got something on this that's been in your mind turning, I hope that your mic will go good, and I'll turn my thing off for sure. But I want to look at you people while I say this. I remember Mike Tyson. He was getting ready to have a fight. And he was getting questioned hard because he'd been knocked out by Buster Douglas. He's actually been knocked out, I think, 3 times already. And I cannot remember the announcer that was interviewing him. But he was like, he said the F word. And the guy was like, well, Mike, why would you want to say the F word? We're on live television. He's like, well, fuck you, man. You're a fucking asshole. It was like, well, Mike, we're live. He's like, well, fuck you, too. Turn your fucking station. And I tell you, the stop clock is right twice a day, as I mentioned about myself earlier. And Mike was right that time. I mean, I think of George Carlin with the, what was it, the 7 words you can't say? What's that? I think of all these people. Lenny Bruce, Andy Kaufman, all these folks that brung something people didn't understand. Some folks maybe did, a lot of people did, but some people didn't. What if we would have stopped them? We shouldn't stop Kathy Griffin. Sorry, MCJK, if you're watching now or ever do watch this. We shouldn't be prosecuting Kathy Griffin for, what they say, Britisher sedition?
So there was no end of treason, sedition. There was no end of accusations.
Brother, that makes Dankula's situation look like Candyland. Am I wrong? They're talking about sedition and treason against the United States government. They can hang you for that. Remember the Rosenbergs? They can kill your ass for that.
No one is proposing to kill Dankula just yet.
Not yet, but I mean, gracious, man. So I'm at the end of my tirade. Like I said, if you two boys want to say something before I do my little 2-minute wrap-up thought for the day, which, no, that wasn't it. It was close, but it wasn't it. Remember, we got to allow people to say what they want to say. If we didn't, we wouldn't have had Bill Hicks. We wouldn't have Dankula, which hopefully we'll have forever. And all these other great people.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I
want people like Katie Griffin to have a platform. What I always tell people is, if someone's wrong, I want to give them a bullhorn so other people can hear why they're wrong too. I don't want to drive these people into the underground. If you have bad ideas, I want to drive you into the sunlight, because sunlight's the best disinfectant.
Well, the one thing that in that case is quite illustrative is the fact that I forget what his name is. Rather frustrating. It's on the tip of my tongue. But there was a leader of the BNP, which was the British National Party over here, and they were always clamoring that they weren't getting any airtime. That basically the media was always shunning them, and they were always saying that was what was holding them back. And I mean, they were a openly, blatantly racist party. There was no other way of describing it.
Oh yeah, I remember this. I read about this.
Then eventually, the BBC decided to have their leader as a panelist on a political debate show, because they had actually gained a bit of traction, and now that they had a greater number of people supporting them, the BBC felt, well, now they would be qualified to be on. Well, he came on, he made a complete idiot of himself, and the BNP nowadays is barely ever heard of again. So basically, they collapsed after that. So that is exactly what you were saying, Conscious Caracal. If you give them a platform and allow them to actually kind of, speak to the people uninhibited, the only result that will be is that they will sink themselves.
Yes, exactly.
And in that regard, Kathy Griffin, I don't have any problem with her being allowed to speak or say and do what she wants. The only thing that she demonstrated was that she's a terrible comedian. and
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums up the point pretty well. Ogre, I think you can sign off.
Oh. Yeah, I was going to blow a little more wind. I'm looking at the time. Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure if that was it, I mean, you boys can haul ass. I'm looking at the time. I know when I'm going to quit. I'm gonna be gone, and I'm probably not going to quit before that at 5 o'clock. If I go now, I will get back out there in the sun. And I was saying earlier, this is the time of the year in Michigan. I'm not going to go on a rant on this. That if you're stupid, it will tear your ass up because it's only about 70 degrees outside, but sun is hot. It'll burn you like a match head, man.
So basically, you're determined to stay online in order to keep yourself out of the sun at the moment.
Well, it's something to do, Britisher. I told you, man. I got 2 speeds. It's go and sleep. So, and if I don't have nothing to do, if I find myself just here and watching stuff.
Just to ask this, because I mean, the winters are pretty hard in Michigan, I understand. And not all too long ago, you were saying that it was actually still quite cool. So now it has basically switched to the absolute opposite, has it?
Well, no, it's cool today. It's about 70 degrees with the sun up, which is a mild day, in my opinion. But the sun is up. There's not a cloud in the sky, and it is almost June 21st, the longest day, of the year in the northern hemisphere, if you believe in that kind of thing. And we're really close to the 45th parallel. I mean, the days will get almost 17 hours long here, the sunlight.
Yeah.
But twilight and pre-dawn, you're talking about almost 19 and a half hours of light. It's only 4.5 hours where it's dark, and it only gets pitch dark.
To what extent do the lakes kind of affect the weather with Michigan?
Man.
Because I mean, if it weren't for the lakes, you would actually be exposed to quite strong continental weather, wouldn't you? Because I mean, normally the further away you get from the sea, the stronger the extremes of winter and summer become. So I'm just wondering, to what extent is that kind of alleviated by the presence of the lakes?
Yeah, sorry, I just realized my headphones were off and was probably echoing like a dog. Well, to be honest, man, it affects the weather in a depending upon how you look at it, negative way. We have what's called lake effect snow in the winter. So when anything's coming, sometimes it'll just be moist air going over the Great Lakes. Oh man, it could be 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit and still snow or ice. And those are the worst. You got slush and ice. This is a place of extremes. What they say here, Britishers, if you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes. There have been many people close to here that have went out backpacking. I mentioned earlier about people dying. Go through it again in kayaks all the time, every year, man. But 10 or 11 people just go out there and they freeze to death in the middle of summer because they flip their kayak over in the middle of the lake, can't see land, and die out there. It takes an hour. But there's been people backpacking, hiking, just going on a day hike, and they're dressed like I am right now. Don't ever do that in this state. I don't care if it's July, fools. Don't do that. Because it might be 80 degrees and the temperature could drop 45, 50 degrees. If you're 3-4 hours away from someplace, have no decent shelter, you're going to die.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like, tourists that go up either the fells in the Lake District here in Britain or also some mountains in Scotland. And they go for a walk when it's nice and sunny and they completely underestimate how weather can change on mountains.
Yeah, Scotland ain't to be fooled.
They then need to be saved by helicopter. Which is always a sort of peak embarrassment. But what since we're talking geography here, one thing that kind of intrigues me is given that Detroit, I mean, I know it's now sort of hit somewhat hard times, but given that Detroit was such a big, large city, how did it come to be there? I mean, you know, what was
how
it?
how did Detroit come there? You mean how long
Yes.
ago do you want me to answer that question? How far
Well, you
back?
know, I
do we
mean,
go?
why? Normally, there is a specific reason why a city emerges in one place,
When
and
the
I was just wondering
When the
how
French
did-
got here, they needed to play because the French were excellent at mingling with the Indians. When the first English-speaking people got here, there was a network of French and Indians where it'd be hard-pressed to tell a French man away from an Indian man if they were standing next to each other in the summer. But anyway, they trapped and they needed a place to start to get their goods over across the, into Canada and to transport their stuff. We had the Erie Canal, if you're familiar with that. And so they had a little tiny post called Detroit. I can't tell you what it means, but I believe it does have French and Lakota roots. It means way station, or I can't remember that. But now we're talking about 1600. And then Detroit became this bustling place where you had a lot of trappers coming with their furs. They made a lot of money at one time. I mean, a man would work his life away. And listen, oh man, I'll go into so much about Detroit. It got big also, Britisher, because you were an Indian up here, right? You and I are braves. We're sitting chilling. It's been a good hunt. Our women are cooking our meat in pits with rocks, stones. There is no iron. Now, we have other precious things, man. We found stones. We polished a Petoskey stone. We have many precious stones and stuff, and gold even here. Not a lot, but they did have gold. What would you do to get an iron pot and an axe handle and iron tips for our bows and arrows to make the hunt even better? What would you give away that you had, including maybe land, wife, daughter?
Well, I would assume things like furs and things like that.
Well, they gave away furs and timber mostly, but they did give away a lot of precious things, man. They more than anything, because of their connections, they taught the white man how to live here. Whitefish Bay also would not be there if it wasn't for the Indian folks teaching the white man how to ice fish and how to preserve that catch for the winter. A lot of things, but Detroit. So then, as it become big from iron, man, you got Henry Ford. Just fast forward all the way up to 1900. And they put the soup cans up and they figured out the Model T and they said, hey, listen, we got to pay everybody enough so that they can come buy our cars. We'll sell a bunch of cars. They sold a bunch of cars because the steel was the metal. The iron was already there. Come right
So
from
you've actually got iron ore in Michigan, have you?
Oh, yeah. Iron Mountain is
So
in the Upper
the
Peninsula.
steel plants will have been, therefore, in Michigan.
Funny thing is, most of them are in Pittsburgh, PA.
Okay.
But again, the Erie Canal and the advent of the railway. But look, Michigan, there was a time not too long ago, we had everywhere here is in 6 mile townships, Britisher. And the reason why it used to take 9 months to find out who was going to be governor, because to get from the Keweenaw Peninsula and the Upper Peninsula all the way to Detroit for a while until we had to fight the bloody Buckeyes and kick their ass out. And then we moved to Lansing, so the capital would be further from Ohio. Look, man, I'll go on and on. It took to go. The reason there's 6 miles is so that everybody had to go 3 miles to the end, to the edge, get the dispatch, and then go 6 miles across to give the dispatch. Total of 9 miles. And there's still places, the blueberry marshes they call them, Britisher. A very strong man. You can't get no kind of vehicle through there unless it's a big tracked vehicle or a hover vehicle, like a swamp vehicle, a swamp boat with a propeller.
Yep.
But a very strong man might make 100 yards an hour. And this would cover like from Midland, Michigan to Bay City, Michigan. A guy I used to know called the Commish. He's passed away, God rest him. He played at a wonderful restaurant called the Atrium in Bay City, Michigan. If you go there and you think it's just hillbillies and swill bars, go find the Atrium next to the bay there. Anyway, it still took. He had records because they called him the Commish because he was the drain commissioner of Bay City, of the Bay County. And we would go down in the basement and look at these old records. And man, to get from Midland to Bay City, it would take 2 days, one way, 4 days. Now you can drive it in about, I don't know, 25 minutes at the most.
Yes, but nowadays everything is basically a motorway, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see now why Detroit got so big. Michigan was so hard to traverse. When they did traverse it, the Indians didn't let a lot of stuff go on, man, and they had the French backing them. So when the first English-speaking people got there and started going, zzz, 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 and the Braves came back for the year from up north hunting, and they looked around and there was like 50 acres clear cut, But they had that trading post, Detroit. and a way to get goods that they want. The Indians had the ore. It was in Iron Mountain. It was all in the Algonquin area. I believe Algonquin. It might have been Michigami, but it was all in Indian control in a place where the Indians were the only ones that could live up there at that time and fight for any length of time. You know, if they would have wanted no one there, they just wouldn't have been there. Plus, they weren't above like going into your town and cutting everybody's throat in the middle of the night. They didn't give a shit.
So a bit like Boadicea here in Britain.
Yeah, but they had no idea what to do with the ore. I mean, I hope you see the connection with Michigan and iron. And I never did get the Pittsburgh thing that I mentioned, because why in the world did we send the iron ore all the way there when we could have had smelters and stuff here?
Other ore around Pittsburgh?
I don't think so. Not much. There's coal around that area.
So the ore has yeah, but that might be, so it may have been for some reason more economic to bring the iron ore to the coal rather than the coal to the iron ore.
It very much could be, and that the iron was worth so much more money to transport it. Because the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, they were bringing iron from Iron Mountain, and they were bringing that down to Detroit and to go to places, you know, to Pittsburgh, go to the Erie Canal and go to Pittsburgh, get on trains, go to Pittsburgh, get smelted and go to the world. And, you know, I mean, I'm telling you, it kind of kills me, but Detroit was called the Paris of the East. And there wasn't a time too long ago where there wasn't a city in this country that you would rather be in, man. There's this Crowder went downtown once. There's even a better documentary that goes down and shows a lot of stuff, but the old train station, man, you can still see the tapestries. That was oh God, have mercy.
No, I mean, I've seen some sort of imagery on YouTube and whatever. You know, people have made clips of sort of the before and the after.
I can only imagine what it would have been like in its heyday.
It does look quite terrifying these days. And when you think just how recent it was that it was actually still going, that is quite terrifying, because in that case, you've got the feeling that could happen to many a city.
Well, Reagan saved it. It was Flint, Michael Moore. I know people from Flint. My stepdad worked at General Motors V8 plant in Flint, Michigan for 38 years. He's still alive. And that's a long story, but Reagan saved him, and it wasn't the unions. The reason it is, in my opinion, to answer your really first question, the reason it is right now like it is, not how it got there and all the flowery stuff I really want to tell you about for the next 10 hours, because I love this. This state is the best state in the country, man. It's beautiful up here. We got everything. It's because of the unions. The unions say, look, we got to get this. They would rather, if they don't get concessions, they would rather everybody to know you're done. And there was a time when, Reagan stepped in and was like, no, you can't go to Mexico. NAFTA came in after. And I really do believe that you got Bush's in because they put George W. Like, I think they might have put Pence up in there. You think everybody thinks, oh, Trump picked Pence. Well, yeah, did Trump pick all these people leaking? And no, he did what he did to get along. And but anyway, so he started ushering in, because everybody blames it on Clinton, Britisher, but I happen to know I was alive when it was going down. GW and his ilk were the ones started that Trans-Pacific Partnership and or not Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'm sorry, the NAFTA. Got my wires crossed there a second. And deeper than NAFTA, they shut down a highway that would have made Canada and Mexico and America for about 100 miles on each side of the highway. No country at all. It goes on and on and on. But I think Trump's trying to stop that stuff, man. And hopefully Detroit, it could come back. It was just a little iron town, a little logging and fur town. It became the Motor City, man. We created Motown, Britt.
I mean, what is the situation with it now? Because the last I really heard, they had gone bankrupt.
Well, the city's in bad shape, but what's happening now is about 10 years ago, they moved the border out so they could stay above 1 million. Well, they'd have to move the border way out now. So it's down to, I don't even know how many people. I think it's under 300,000 people live in the city limits. There's folk like myself that go there. They have demolished block upon block, Britt. I remember the days, man, these old Victorian houses. Block upon block, carried it away. You ground up the foundations and stuff to make highway. They do that now, ground the concrete up. Mm-hmm. And it's all gone. And so folk will go down there and build a little house there, and have farms. They got bears in Detroit. I mean, not like football playing bears. In the city limits. And they're farming it. And they got little homesteads, and They got the mayor came out and said, not only can you carry a gun in Detroit, but we can't solve 8 out of 10 murders if you don't carry a gun. I don't care if you got a felony. I don't care what you got. If you don't carry a gun, and tell an officer if you see him now, tell him you got a weapon. But if you don't carry a gun in Detroit, you're stupid because we can't help you. Ornish helfen. That's how you say it in Yiddish. Nothing will save you.
Well, that's quite a statement to make for a mayor.
Well, he ain't doing the daggone.
It's effectively his way of saying you're on your own.
Point the right way. Emmanuel, what's his name? Chicago fools. Anyway, no, they did like restricted gun control with that Emmanuel, whatever the hell his name is, man. I can't even think of it right now. I hate him, so I don't really keep up much. The mayor of Chicago, Emmanuel something or other.
Well, Chicago, I believe, is pretty much the most corrupt town in the U.S., isn't it?
I'd put my money on
their
that.
mayors and governors have been sort of up on charges over the years.
Oh yeah, going back to the dailies, and they still have Daily Plaza and Daily Avenue, and the dailies are worshipped like gods, but they were the most corrupt gangsters ever was.
And they also spoiled pizza, if I remember.
Man, you're hitting all the buttons, aren't you today? I hate their
Absolutely.
Chicago-style deep dish. Sucks. It's greasy. It's nasty. Give me a floppy New York pizza, crusty on the bottom and gooey and nasty on top. Big
Well,
one
you
like
see,
this.
but that's where the Europeans would interject and say, not New York, Neapolitan.
What's
That's
their
where it
pizza
came
like?
from.
Yeah, but that's like flat bread, right? With just a little sauce on it.
Well, not really. No, the pizza as such does come from Napoli. It comes from Naples. In fact, I might have told this story before. I don't know. It goes back quite a long way, and of course, the Naples and Sicily formed a kingdom for quite a long time, and the royal household was in Naples, and because, of course, they made pizza there. It just so happened that the royal household was quite fond of pizza. But you know how, I mean, these days every family knows this problem of, what toppings. So, everyone had obviously their favorite, but the Queen, she just wanted plain pizza. She didn't want anything on it. She just keep it plain. What was the name of the Queen? Margherita.
Margarita, yeah.
That's how it's got its name. Pizza Margherita is named after her.
I like
I've
pizza with a
heard that
margarita.
story quite a few times, but it's intriguing the fact that up until this day, every pizzeria across the world has a margarita pizza.
I never heard of it.
Really?
No, the plain
And
pizza
there is
just
one good
called pizza Margherita. It's just simple as that.
There is one good pizzeria in Chicago, and it's not Pizza Uno's. It's called King's Pizza. It's right down the road from Buddy Guy's. If you were to be at Buddy Guy's and look at the Hilton right by the Miracle Mile there, you could just turn back around and like you're going to go to the ghetto and walk one block, man, and you'll see a sign there by Buddy Guy's. Anyways, like King's Pizza with an arrow. And you will say to yourself, I don't know if I want to walk down there. Just do it. You'd be fine.
No,
in Chicago, in this
if
area,
I would
you're
be
fine.
next to Buddy Guy's, I would forget about pizza.
Oh, and they serve fried chicken up in there, Britt. I mean, you can sit while they're jamming. I mean, some of the best blues acts ever are jamming. You $7 ticket, mate. I'm not even joking. Pay $7, you ride the ride. And you got to get there early if you want a seat, or you're going to be standing up. And I did. I went there with me and the King went there, man. So I know about King's Pizza. I got a bunch of pictures of the King with it says King's, and he's like King. Anyway, Buddy Guys rocks, man. And some of the guitar, I brag on my guitars and whatnot. I'm gonna tell you what, I couldn't even begin to know what their insurance is on that joint because the guitars that line the wall are, goodness have mercy. I couldn't even imagine. There's a few of them that I know are seven
Chances
figures.
are no one expects anybody to steal anything because
burn down.
You don't steal from a temple.
No, I wouldn't imagine that either. No, but burn down. Anything. A grease fire in the kitchen. Or something.
You just kicked off a thought there because when you described the King standing next to the sign, pointing to it, smiling, with it saying Kings, I think he wouldn't like it over here in Britain then.
No, he'd love it.
Because just about every town has a pub called the King's Head.
Oh.
Obviously a little reference to Charles I, who lost his.
Yeah. Well, you English are a seditious lot, aren't you?
That's rich coming from an American.
Well, I'm just saying, where do you think we got it from? All the people that fought against y'all spoke English. We got it. It was basically, I don't know. We ain't gonna get into that, are we? It was too. It was just like the Civil War, mate. What difference was it? We call it the Revolutionary War because we, I guess, won it or whatever. Nobody
Yeah, I
won it.
mean,
We're
you know,
still
the
friends.
Civil War, our Civil War here, just as your Civil War in America, is the bloodiest thing we've ever done, really.
Yeah.
So basically, just as in America, the Civil War killed more Americans than anything else, the same thing happened here in Britain. So for all the wars that Britain was in over the centuries, the one thing that killed more than anything else was when the British had a go at each other.
Yeah. I don't even know when that happened, man.
Yeah, because it was British against British. So I would
It
assume.
was, you would sort of say the first half of the 17th century.
Yeah.
And it basically came to crunch time. The British had this sort of democracy-ish
When was the
some
Glorious Revolution? That was somewhere in the 1700s, right?
Yes, that comes afterwards. That comes when Charles II is on the throne.
Yes.
So basically, what happened is it came to crunch time because obviously the monarchy was as old as the hills over here, but Parliament had a certain amount of say. But sooner or later, push came to shove, and who really had the say? Was it the monarch or was it Parliament? And if you then throw into that also religious fervor, because there was quite a bit of Catholicism going on around the monarch, even though he was Protestant, and you then had the Puritan movement, which was siding with the parliamentarians, and then you have both a political cause and a religious cause combined, and that made for bad news.
Always does.
And what is so interesting is that the parliamentarians emerge victorious. They then, of course, as is often the case, end up quarreling among each other. And sooner or later, it is Oliver Cromwell, one of the leaders of the parliamentarians, who ends up basically taking power for himself and dissolving Parliament. So one of the leaders of the parliamentarians eventually dissolves Parliament. I mean, it's the ultimate irony. And with him then being a Puritan, he then starts enforcing all these hideous Puritan laws. I mean, he literally, and this is one of these things that I think people around the world really find hard to believe, but he really did. He banned Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't allowed to celebrate at Christmas. Christmas was supposed to be a time for prayer and silent contemplation. So he would even ban things like mince pies, which were, of course, traditional
Absolute
sweetmeats that people would eat at Christmas. So it kind of just shows what for a kind of petty monster this guy was. What is interesting is his statue stands outside Parliament because it is kind of acknowledged that he was a monster who eventually dissolved Parliament, but it was essentially his success which solidified Parliament's power over Britain. So even though he was the one who dissolved Parliament, without him, Parliament would never fulfill the role it does today.
Yeah, and it kind of set you on course for where you are today as well in terms of everything you've achieved.
But you know, whenever you hear people, you know, demanding that statues of the past be removed, you know, like General Lee in New Orleans or Cecil Rhodes in Oxford, always remember that Oliver Cromwell still stands outside. The man who forbid Christmas still stands outside the British Parliament.
It was banned in America for a little while, but for different reasons.
Yeah. I never heard that.
Christmas wasn't banned, but you weren't supposed to celebrate it. And if you said Merry Christmas, you got like a $2 fine or something. It had to do with Catholicism, and then they said it was pagan. It's pagan. I mean, it comes from.
I think with a $2 fine, you more than likely got off easy. In the 17th century, they were considerably more ruthless when it came to.
But burn you at the stake.
People who fell foul of religious intolerance tended to be in quite a bit of trouble.
Pull your testicles out.
What happened was that then, of course, as is always the case with Puritans and other sort of, dogmatic monsters, they tend to be very bad at actually running the country. So once Oliver Cromwell died, Britain was pretty much bankrupt. It had been very badly led. He had then left basically his position to his son, and people just said, no, we're not having that. And Parliament basically kind of stepped in and said, no, not a chance. And that's when it then came to this wonderful sort of ironic situation where Parliament went asking the heir of the king whose head they'd chopped off whether he might not want to come back.
William of Orange, who was that guy that they ended up trying to overthrow the... When was that? They got like some guy... my history is kind
William
of...
of Orange came in after that.
Because I remember learning about this in university back in the day. We did this entire thing on like the
I didn't hear that last bit.
Said he learned about it in university. The Duke of Orange. I've never heard of any of this.
The Glorious Revolution. That is.
We
did like the entire build up to the
William of Orange. That is the situation afterwards. That basically after Charles II has been asked back.
Yes.
By the British Parliament. He dies without child. And he was pretty much the sexually most active monarch we've ever had. But he died without an official heir. So his throne then fell to his brother, who was James II. The problem with James II was he was a Catholic. And he immediately, rather than just basically say, okay, look, I'm a Catholic, but I'm in charge of a Protestant country, so what, we can get along, he immediately decided that he would seek to reintroduce Catholicism as the state religion. So he kind of was almost trying to reopen the religious wars. So, of course, it then kicked off in a big way again. And it ended up in Ireland at the Battle of the Boyne, where the Protestants defeated the Catholics, who were obviously led by James II. But the Protestants needed somebody to lead their side. And they obviously found someone that could marry off, but they needed somebody to actually, they needed the male leader to step in. And they needed to find someone abroad. And what they found was basically the ruler of Holland, who was the ruler of the House of Orange, who was William of Orange. And he came in and basically, so his was the Protestant victory over the Catholics. And that basically settled it for good. So yes, when it comes to our kings and queens, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of numbers, there are a lot of Georges. It can get quite confusing.
Well, yeah. Not only that, it goes back a long time. I mean,
yes.
I know things about the history of where I'm at, like I was saying before, but that don't go back that far. It goes, you could stretch and say we know some things that were happening in the 1500s, but this area, the woods of Wisconsin and northern Michigan, it was unsettled by white men.
When it comes to British history, what makes it so complicated is not only that it's so convoluted and it's so old, but also that it so often involves other countries. That basically you have to understand the history of those other countries just as well in order to understand why we were at war with them or why we stepped into a war in order to help them. And then, of course, eventually it comes to the British Empire that then starts spanning around the whole globe. And then you realize just how rich and diverse British history in that regard is.
It goes way back. I enjoyed any of that stuff. You boys lost me. I won't lie. I was listening, but I can't connect it because I think we didn't learn much. We learned England was a place that we came from a long time ago. Well, they founded like the 13 colonies and whatnot. About it.
Well, yes, but
they wore red coats and shot the hell out of us for a while.
But what needs to be understood is that it in order to kind of rise out of the medieval and whatever, it took a huge amount of effort, and there was a lot of fighting, and there was a lot of trouble on the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, the European countries did not just rise out of the dark, distant past without a huge amount of baggage on their shoulders. And I think that is one of the things that people in America don't quite understand when they see the Europeans, that there is almost nothing in Europe that doesn't have some sort of context with the past.
Yes, yes.
And that therefore we have a completely different perspective, but we are also coming from a completely different place than you are.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. If you look from different nations' perspectives, you get an entire different view than what would be the normal view for Americans. If you just put yourself in the shoes of for example, a German or a Brit, and you look back at your history, there's so many little subtle details that you wouldn't pick up as a foreigner, but that actually meant quite a lot.
Well, here's the thing too. If you're not, I don't want to say good or bad American, but if you're a knowledgeable American, you should know about your 50 states. I know the capitals of the states. I know usually their motto, like Michigan is the Great Lakes state. It's also known as the sportsman's paradise. Ohio's the Buckeye state. Indiana's the Hoosier state. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And but a lot of people don't know that. Now, there I would say that's my excuse for someone that at least is up on something, because whereas you all do know about, it seems like, man, when the Britisher does know, and also Cabbage Patch, man, the English people I talk to, they have a wider knowledge of different countries' history than I do, for sure, and than any Americans that I know. And I would say there's my reason. I mean, you're 50 states, more or less, are these countries that surround you, and because you're very close and are tied in one way or the other. Didn't all y'all intermarry at one time or another, Britisher? Like... At least the Royals did, you know. I'm sure they spread out.
Well, the Royals definitely did, yes, because obviously they needed effectively to marry royal blood.
Yeah, and then you got an English sailor.
There was only so many royal families in Europe, so with them all marrying each other, that wasn't an all too healthy thing in the long run.
And this has been fun, boys, but I gotta get out of here. So as we just wrap up our little history lesson, I really appreciate the questions, British. I'm very proud of the state that I live in. Not that I'm not from here, but I'm proud of this state and the people that are here. There's a unique kind of people that live north of Lansing. There's an even more unique kind of people that live north of the bridge in the UP, where the Upper's from. I mean, those are, anyway, very unique people. One thing I have noticed, most folk let people be themselves as long as that thing, as I was saying before, in case you were listening, doesn't hurt someone else, not their feelings. If it hurts somebody, well, I guess it needs to be stopped, doesn't it? It should be stopped. If it doesn't, what should be done if someone comes to shame or hurt somebody in the real world over an opinion, or even if the opinion is given in the real world? I don't care, what it is, a reporter, somebody on YouTube, or what's the other one there, Minds or something like that. There comes a point where we have to say, no, we shouldn't do anything about somebody writing a disparaging article about a human being either. I mean, these people have their right to say what their opinions are. But daggone it, in the end, we do have the right as human beings to say there is a line, and this is what it is. It's not the social justice warrior insanity. It says the line is my feels. It's the idea that if you're hurting someone, taking away from them, taking someone's income is hurting them. And before I wrap it up real quick, I'm going to say, yes, that means Kathy Griffin. She had a right to make her joke. Bill Maher, didn't he just use the dreaded N-word? He had a right to say what he wants to say. You know, everybody wants to come out and do whatever, but should he be fired? Good gracious. Has anybody seen the show Tombstone that was on HBO? I've seen some stuff on HBO that was a lot worse than that. In fact, they rerun Dolomite from time to time. They use the N word in every other sentence. And Melon Farmer, they say that a lot, Brett. Melon Farmer. That's British for motherfucker.
I still see you remember that one.
Well, because I'm talking about this idea of where do we draw the line. So remember, draw the line at hurting somebody. Don't hurt somebody. Take it on yourself, because that's the only thing I can really appeal to right now. I can't say in my heart of hearts that I believe that we should make any law against a reporter that wants to hurt somebody in the real world because of their opinions on YouTube. I don't think there should be retribution against the powers that be around Count Dankula's neck of the woods. You know, if he gets up, I don't think anything should happen to these people. I just think it should end. Start individually. That's my appeal to you. Do it individually this week if you can. So remember, folks, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry, folks. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to get it out of your mind. Because, constant viewers, at a time you think not, your friends, family members, loved ones, your life, your freedom of speech, and possibly, if you say the wrong thing, your fucking livelihood and job may depart from you. Hey, see you later, Sydney.